Okay, guys, welcome back once again. Nunya Afari is the name, as I said earlier. I'm the lead consultant for Finexcel Business Solutions, and I'll be taking you through some key functions in Microsoft Excel. I'm excited to lead this session, and I can guarantee that you're going to have fun by the end of this session. But before we proceed, I'd like to share an interesting slide with you guys. Now, on the screen, hello, on the screen is the productive hours that we have in a year, computed in hours, okay? So on a daily basis, we have about 365 days in a year, multiplied by 24 hours, gives us this total number of hours in a year. If we take away our working hours, which is an average of 8 hours a day, by 5 days a week, that gives us about 2,080 hours. Take away our average leave days and our average holidays, this is what leaves us with about 1,752 hours. This translates to about just 20% of the total amount of time we have in a typical year. Has this ever occurred to any of you? Somebody will ask, what is the essence of this? When we spend about 35 hours of our average time in a year sleeping and 45% of our time in an average year doing extracurricular activities. This is revealing, I believe. Now, the essence of showing you this slide is to tell you how important the work some of us do, in that we think that we have time, but in essence, we don't. So therefore, it becomes imperative people simple tasks in Excel, tasks that should take them about 5 to 10 minutes, and they spend days or even weeks doing the same task just because they do not know how. Again, that is why I am here to help you, be more productive and be more efficient at the end of the day. Again, this session is going to assume you are somewhat familiar with Microsoft Excel and you have at least basic knowledge of Microsoft Excel, because all that we're going to be doing today is going to be based on formulas and functions. If you are interested in using the slides that we'll be using or the workbooks that we'll be using for this exercise, please do well to connect with me on the social handles on this profile via LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'll be glad to share the exercise documents with you. I'll appreciate some feedback if you are all following what is going on at the moment. Feel free to make this session as interactive as possible. You can turn on your mic to ask questions or slow me down when I am going too fast or otherwise. Also feel free to enter the chat section to let your concerns known. As we have already stated, we are going to be taking some very key function in Excel that every intermediate Excel user ought to know. In as much as my job today is to teach you how to use some of these functions, it is important that we know why. The whys are very important. The why that we're using some of these functions is very, very important, because at the end of the day, That is what is going to help you to recollect and reuse these functions in the future. So throughout this section, I'm going to be creating some assumptions and scenarios to help you understand the topics that we're going to be treating today. Cool? Again, my name is Mr. Afari, but people call me Mr. Cool when it comes to Excel. So feel free to call me Mr. Cool. And again, anytime I introduce a topic that you're cool with or you understand clearly, please feel free to type in cool or say cool so that we can proceed. Cool? All right. So shall we begin? Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now that I see that everyone is following, let's proceed. All the topics that we are going to be treating today have been clearly labeled on the tabs in this workbook. Like I said, please do connect with me on my social so that I can share this workbook with you if you are interested in practicing later on. So the first function we want to look at today is called the left or right function. Now, in this worksheet, what we have here is some part numbers, okay? And in this other column, column E, we have some records there that contain locations and then some country codes. Now, so this question, if what you wanted to do in Excel is to copy this last digits of all this text, just the last 5 digits of all this text into a separate column, let me guess how you go about it. What I have seen people do is to come into this first cell, for example, and then try and copy this cell one by one, and then come and paste here. Now, imagine you have to do this for 1,000 records. You can imagine how inconveniencing and ineffective this approach would be, because essentially this is all we're trying to do. Extract the last 5 digits of all this text into a separate column for some different reason, for example. So having understood the problem, let me show you a cool way of getting this task done in a much more efficient approach. Cool? See, this is all we are trying to achieve. And prior to this, this is how we would have gone about achieving this task. But then again, I would want to introduce you to this function called right, because essentially what we're doing is extracting text to the right of this text. So in any blank cell, I'll introduce my equal to sign and then type right. This will introduce the right function. If I double click on the right function, it will open the bracket, and then all I need to do is select the text by which I want to extract the text from. So Excel is at this point asking me, which text do I want to extract the text from? So I select this text. Then I say comma. Now, this num characters, this text option you're seeing here stands for number of characters. So Excel is asking me at this point, how many number of characters do I want to extract to the right of this text? And in this case, if you would count with me, you notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters to the right of this text that I want to extract. So then I type in 5, and that ends the argument. Then I close my brackets and type enter. And in one click, you can see that what we would have manually done one by one, Excel has done it. And because this is a formula, it's possible for me to just double click on this formula, and Excel will automatically extract all the text to the right of this text without having to copy and paste this one by one. How cool is this? Are we all following? Hello, are we all following? Okay, great. So then again, so you first of this text that we have here, assuming they mean something, and I want them back in a separate column. The first four characters one by one from this text. Your guess is as good as mine. There's a function called left, for example. And when I introduce this function and I select the text which I want to extract to the left of that text, and I want to extract four characters to the left of that text, I type in for bracket, and guess what? It will automatically extract all the two, saving me a lot of time. Cool? This is all about being efficient and effective at the same time. So as we don't spend a lot of time doing very. Can we proceed? Okay. So again, like I said, all the functions that we are going to be using are listed on the sheet name so that we'll be able to help you recollect the function names anytime you want to re-practice this. So now you know how to use the left function to extract text to the left of a cell, and you know how to use the right function to extract text to the right of a cell. Let's move on to the next topic, upper and lower. Now, let me tell you a short story. There was this time when a colleague back then did a report in Excel, and the entire report was in lowercase. And if you have noticed, unlike in Microsoft Word, there's no button where you can just click and turn the case of a text, i.e. from uppercase to lowercase. It's not possible in Excel. Everything that you need to do in Excel is through functions. And this guy didn't know how to do it. So guess what? He had to re-prepare the entire report from lowercase to uppercase just because he didn't know how to use this function. That is not cool. Again, so what I want to introduce you here is a function that is used in converting cases. In case you have a text in a particular format and you want to convert the text into a different case. I'm introducing you to a function called, for example, this case is in the proper case. If I want to convert all of this text into uppercase, I can just say equals upper, okay? Bracket open and select the text I want to convert. And in one click, bracket close, enter, it will convert this entire text from uppercase to uppercase in one click. So if I double click on this or I drag it through to the end of the case, instead of retyping all of this one by one, I can convert the entire text just using this function called upper, which all it does basically is to convert the text from a lowercase to an uppercase. Your guess is as good as mine. If I have this text in uppercase and I want to convert to lower, what do you think is going to happen? All I need to do is to say equals lower and select the text that I want to convert. It says convert all letters in the text string to lowercase. You can see the narration. So after doing that, I select the text I want to convert, and in one click, Excel will convert it all into lowercase. There's one function there's one text function that is not so obvious, which is, what if I want it in this form? What if I have the text all in uppercase and then I want the text in this format? This format is known as the proper casing. Okay, so if I have a text all in uppercase or lowercase and I want the first letters of the text capitalized, I'll introduce a function called proper. Proper to signify proper case. Okay, when I say proper and I select a text, what it does is it converts the first letters only and then leaves the remaining as lowercase. So this form of casing in Excel is known as proper casing. So just in case you come around a scenario where you easily need to convert cases in Excel, please don't waste your time trying to retype or reproduce the entire document. Just keep these functions handy so that it can make your work and your life much more easier. Again, I say this all the time. Anytime we pretend to work, I mean, you could be sitting behind your desk and be doing this, which will probably take you hours or days to do, when in actual sense, this could take you less than a couple of minutes to do. When we pretend to work, our employers pretend to pay us. So let's learn some of these tools to make us more efficient at the end of the day. Cool? Okay, can we proceed? Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on. I want to introduce us to a very important topic, which is the almighty if function. I'm sure most of you might have heard about this if function. I mean, if you ever claim to know Excel and you've never come across the if function, then unfortunately you are not there yet, because this is one of the key functions that, for example, if you go to an interview and they are looking for people who know how to use Excel, this is one of the things they would expect from you, to be able to write logical functions. So let me introduce you to this if function. Now, this if function is known as a logical function. When we say a logical function, what do we mean? A logical function helps us to do logical evaluations, okay? So, for example, logical functions help us to evaluate whether something is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So these are the basic evaluations that these logical functions helps us to evaluate. So now we're going to assume that this is an employee record of a particular organization, okay? And on this employee record, we have their names, the dates they were hired, how many years they've been working with the organization, what is their status, i.e. full-time, hourly, and then their basic job rating. Now, our task or our mission is to be able to determine a bonus for each of these employees based on whether they are full-time workers or not. So what we're assuming here is that, let's assume at the end of the year, management comes back and says that, okay, let's pay every full-time worker a bonus of 2,000 cedis. So the instruction is that everybody who is full-time worker gets 2,000 as bonus. That's the instruction. So we want to find a way of inculcating or writing a formula such that once Excel determines the status of each of these employees, it will automatically allot a value of 2,000 to each of these employees based on their based on their status in the organization. I hope I'm making myself clear. So, in order to do this, we introduce, the function names are here. We introduce a function called if, which is going to do the if evaluation. Now, it is important you pay attention to the leading guides anytime you are writing formulas, any sort of formula at all in Excel. Okay, now this formula that we have introduced, immediately we open the bracket, you realize that the first requirement is asking us for the logical test. The logical test stands for what it is that we are trying to test for. And then based on this instruction, the instruction is that the person's status must be equal to full-time. We want to test whether this employee's status is equal to full-time. If yes, then we pay the person a bonus of 2,000. If no, then the person doesn't get a bonus. That is the essence of all what we are trying to do at this point. Cool? Okay, so now watch this. So the logical text becomes, I select the status of, because I am writing the formula for the first employee, I select the status of this employee. Then I say, I want to check if the employee's status is equal to, in inverted commas, full-time. Then I say comma, just like we have in the formula bar. So this first part of the argument becomes my logical text, so that when I copy this formula through, I'm going to be checking for all of these employees whether their status is equal to full-time or not. And anytime it is equal to full-time, now Excel is asking us, if I check this employee's status and the value and their status is equal to full-time, Excel is asking us, what value should I put there if it is true? Are you all following? What value should I put there if it is true? And again, so what is the instruction? The instruction is saying that if you check the person's status and the status is full-time, the person gets a bonus of 2,000. So the value, if true, becomes 2,000. As simple as that. Then I introduce my next comma. Now, immediately I introduce my next comma, you would have noticed that the value, the section highlighted now is asking us, what value should we put there if this is false? So then again, we need to be able to tell Excel what to do after doing the evaluation and realizing that the status of the employee is not equal to full-time. And again, the instruction is just to pay everybody who gets a full-time status 2,000. So then if you don't match that criteria, the value if false will be 0. I close my bracket and then I type and I hit the enter key and then see what happens. Automatically, Excel evaluates the status of this employee, and again, you can confirm the status of this employee is full-time. So you can see 2,000 has been allotted automatically. However, if I put my cursor to the bottom right of the formula and double click, you realize that Excel will automatically run through the entire sheet. The whole essence of what we're doing is to be able to write a formula so that when we have a long list of records, we don't need to be able to do this one by one. Excel will automatically do the evaluation, and wherever it sees full-time, it will automatically allot the value if true. And once it doesn't, the person doesn't get a bonus. Imagine if you had to do this manually one by one. That is not cool. So like I said, in this case, the operand that we used in doing this evaluation is to evaluate whether a cell was equal to something. And that is not the only scenarios that are used in doing if evaluations. Like I said, we can evaluate whether something is equal to something, whether something is greater than something, less than something, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So all of this operands can be used depending on the scenario that you are dealing with to use to evaluate whether a cell is equal to something and determine what value should be allotted when the values are true or false. Cool? Okay. Are we all following? So let's quickly do another example of this if so that you get the idea quite clearly. Now, this time around, management says that they want to pay bonus to all employees, okay? But you only get a bonus if you have been or your years of service is greater than 10. So you need to be in the company for 10 years or above to get a bonus of 5,000. So your status has to be greater than or equal to 10 to get a bonus, to get 5,000 bonus. Okay. So this is the instruction that we have from management. And we want to write a formula that inculcates this and does the evaluation of all these employees in one go without having to do this manually one by one. So then I rewrite this formula to say that if, bracket open. Now this time I'm not going to select the status, I'm going to select the years of service because what I want to evaluate is not the status of the employee, but I'm evaluating the years of service of the employee to evaluate whether the person matches the criteria of 10 and above. So instead of equal to, this time I'm going to use the operand greater than or equal to 10. So this is how I write it. I say if the years of employee of this, if the years of service of this employee is greater than or equal to 10, then pay the person a bonus of 5,000. However, if it is not, then pay the person no bonus. As simple as that. Bracket close, enter. And straight away, you can see that this employee okay, so just a minute. Okay, so straight away, when we copy this formula through, you would realize that everybody, okay, so this is what we need to do. We want to evaluate if this cell is greater than or equal to 10. Okay. Uh, just a minute. Okay, so let's do another example. I want to say if, okay, if I say if the years of this service is greater than 10, sorry, when we are putting a foreign character, we need to put it in inverted commas. Then give the person a bonus of 5,000. If not, then 0. Oh, okay. Okay, but you get the initial idea. Okay. Again, all we are trying to do is to be able to evaluate using any of these functions, i.e. equal to, the scenarios that you have to deal with are entirely different. And depending on the scenario, that is what will determine which of those operands that you would be required to use. Okay. So let's proceed to the nested if function. It will give you a clearer idea as to what this if function is all about. Now, in the case of the nested if, what we're saying is that there are scenarios where we need to do multiple evaluations at the same time using the same if logical evaluation. However, this time around, we are not giving a blanket bonus for each of the candidates or the employees. What we're saying is the bonus that we're going to pay out is going to be dependent on their job rating. So, for example, management is saying that everybody who has a job rating of 5 is getting a bonus of 5,000 for simplicity purposes. Okay, let's just keep it simple. And everybody who has a job rating of 4 is getting a bonus of 4,000. And everybody else, i.e., 3, 2, 1. Now there are 5 job ratings. Okay, so everybody else is getting a bonus of 2,000. So this is what we need to do. We want to be able to write a formula that encompasses this, such that once Excel scans through the job rating of all these employees, their bonus will be determined automatically based on the formula that we have written using this nested if function. So let's see how we go about that. In this scenario, we are going to still introduce our if function. Okay. Again, what do we need to do here? Excel is still asking us, what is the logical test? What are we testing? What we are testing is the job rating of this employee. Now, what do we need to test it for? We are testing if this job rating is equal to 5. Then what? Immediately you say comma, you are asking Excel, then what? So if I check the status and it's equal to 5, now the instructions are clear that everybody who has a job rating of 5 gets a bonus of 5,000. So we input 5,000 as the value if true, which is what is the requirement at this point. Then we move on. Now Excel is at this point asking us what is the value if false. But then again, we can't input the value if false because there are 2 more arguments that we need to enter before we can conclude this argument. So that is what brings about this idea of nesting. The whole idea of nesting is where we have something within something. So it means that we need to introduce another if within the if. That is what the idea of nesting if function is about. So we introduce another if to do the same evaluation, but this time we want to evaluate if this job rating this time around is equal to 4. So I'm saying that check if this job rating is equal to 5. If it's equal to 5, pay the person a bonus of 5,000. Again, go and check if this job rating is equal to 4. If it is equal to 4, pay the person a bonus of 4,000. Cool. Then I proceed to say that if everybody else who does not fall within this category and this category, which is all the people in this category, 3, 2, 1, it means that the value if false can now be introduced to say that the value if false now is 2,000, so that if you do not fall within this category and this category, then you fall within the 3, 2, 1 category, which is to say that everybody who has a job rating of 3, 2, or 1 will get a job rating, will get a bonus of 2,000. Again, I'm sure you would have noticed that we have introduced 2 if functions even before we close the first if function. And the trick about using the if function is that anytime you open a bracket, you need to close it that same number of times that you open the bracket. And you can see we have opened brackets twice in this scenario. So therefore, if we are closing the bracket, we need to close it that same number of times for our nested if function to work. Cool? So then I type in enter. And then you can see Excel has automatically done the evaluation. And because this employee has a job rating of 1, automatically 2,000 has been allocated to the employee. And if I double click to copy this formula down, you can see that wherever Excel sees the job rating of 4, it automatically allots the designated value that has been dedicated for everybody that has that job rating. And in the case of 5, you can see 5,000 has been allotted. The whole point of this is to be able to, if you have thousands of this record that you need to work on, if you do not use this approach, it will become extremely difficult and cumbersome and prone with errors if you do not know how to go about this in the rightful manner. I hope everybody is following. Okay, so let's proceed. We are moving almighty Vlookup function. Almighty Vlookup. Again, like I said, this document will be shared to all members to enable you practice all these topics that we are treating at your spare time. Feel free to connect with me on all my social handles, LinkedIn and Facebook, so that we keep the conversation going. I have a YouTube channel that does Excel trainings, and you can keep following on that to get more tips and tricks on Microsoft Excel. Now, let's take a look at the almighty Vlookup. Now, in the case of Vlookup, what we're saying is quite simple. Let's assume that we received this report at a particular time, okay, for whatever reason that we need to work on. And we managed to finish working on the report. And at a later time, they sent us another report, which was supposed to be an updated report. Please follow the scenario carefully to enable you to understand the concept of Vlookup. So a report was sent earlier, and then at another time, another report was sent. And if you take a look at the worksheet, automatically you can tell that the second report that was sent or generated from whatever system is more than the first report. However, we are interested in knowing which of these particular records is accounting for the differences in the list. Do you get the scenario? I mean, one way of going about it is going through these cells one by one and coloring. Okay, I see this customer ID here. Okay, this is it, customer ID. Then I color it. Okay, 4493, this is here. Okay, so this is not here. I have to go and look for it, or use control find to look for it. I mean, it can be very tedious if the list is quite, many. So the approach I'm about to teach you is to how to use Vlookup to compare two sets of data that have disparities in them, to be able to tell which records are accounting for the differences in the list. As I go through this, I expect you to be thinking through, that is, if you ever work with Excel, think of scenarios in your working situation that you could apply some of these tools and functions that we are learning today. Think about how you're going to apply the same tools in your work scenario. So I can pick any blank cell. I choose to use this blank cell. I want to write a formula in this column. Okay, it could be anywhere. Okay, on the same row. That will compare the data in these cells with this and tell me which of the records are accounting for the difference, i.e. which records are here and are not here, and vice versa. So this brings me to the almighty equals VLOOKUP function. I say equals VLOOKUP. The V there stands for vertical. And because our data is structured vertically, this is going to do a vertical lookup of records of these two data sets, of these two reports. Now, if I open my VLOOKUP bracket, like I said, always pay attention to these leading guides. The first requirement of any VLOOKUP function is the lookup value. Lookup value. Now, the lookup value there, in this case, because the customer ID column are seen as the unique, you need to identify one unique column that is available in the two data. And in this case, we are going to choose the customer ID because that is one of the columns that is unique in these two data sets. So I'm going to look for the customer ID and select that as my lookup value. Then I say comma. Okay. So after typing comma, the next requirement is table array. The table array, because we are looking for this in this table, Excel is asking you, now you want me to look for this, which is the lookup value. Excel is asking you, where should I look for it? I'm telling Excel, okay, look for this data in this data set. So I come and select my table array, which is this table. Now, because I am going to be dragging down this formula, I need to lock this range that I have selected down by pressing the F4 function. And if I press the F4 function, pay attention to what is going to happen to the section highlighted. You see that $signs will appear around the section selected. Okay, and what this means is I have locked the range down such that when I drag the formula down, it will continue to refer to this locked section so as to not drag down as we drag along. This is known as absolute referencing in Excel. You can check my YouTube channel for a detailed topic on absolute referencing if you have a challenge with it. So now we lock down that section. The next requirement is the column index number. Column index, COL index number stands for column index number. Now, based on the table that we have selected, the column index number refers to the table that contains the values we want to return. So for example, if I want to return the customer name, so for example, in this table, as you have seen above here, there are 5 columns in this table. If I want to return the customer name, the column index number will be 2. If I want to return the values, the customer index number will be 5 in that order. So in this case, I want to return the values to compare that the customer ID and the values in the second table are all the same. So the column index number, I'm going to type in 5 to indicate that I want values from the 5th column. Then I say comma. So this is where all the difference is between exact and approximate match. I'm going to select false for exact match because when Excel does the match, I want it to find exactly this customer ID in this table before it considers it as a match. So I'm going to use the exact match approach to do my VLOOKUP match. Then that is it. We have completed our argument. I close my bracket and then I hit the enter button. And then straight away, you can see that Excel is returning 4,000 for this employee, which is the same thing that we have here. It means Excel has found the record and returned the value, which because we selected index number 5, it has returned the value. So after doing this, all I need to do is drag this down or double click. And what Excel will do is automatically, I'm supposed to just double click. It would automatically look through the entire table and find all the records and return all the values. So you can see what is happening here. Excel has automatically found all the records, i.e. all these customer IDs that existed in this table and has returned the value. And in these instances, Excel is automatically telling us that these records are not available in this record. How cool is that? Imagine there were 10,000 records of this, and we needed to do a comparison of these two data to compare which records are in the first table and are not in the second table. I don't see how else you could have gone about this task other than using this all-powerful Vlookup function. Cool? Do we all get the idea, or we should do another example? So let's do one last example to cement the idea of Vlookup. So this time, I want to compare these two tables, but I want to return. I mean, it's the same thing. I just want to do another example to go over it. So let's write this formula again. I'm going to say equals Vlookup. Okay. And the lookup value. The lookup value again, we are saying is the value that we are looking for, which is the key or the unique component of the data that we are looking for that is available in the two data sets. So I want to look up for this value, okay? Then I say comma. What is the table array? The table array is the table that we are looking for to look the lookup value in. That stands for the table array. So I'm looking for this value in this data or in this table. So I select the entire table as a table array. Again, so like I said, because we are going to drag this down, I press the F4 function to lock the entire range down. I say comma, and then the column index number. This time, let's change the column index number to 2 because we want to return the customer names. Because according to this table, this is column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. So if I say return the values in column 2, which is the column index number, it is going to return the names instead. And then I say exact match, bracket close, enter. And that is it. You realize that this time it is not returning the values, it is returning the name simply because we changed the column index number to 2. And if I double click on this, you can see Excel will automatically look for all these records in this data set and tell me the instances where it does not find the record in the data. How cool is this? Super cool, right? This is going to save you a lot of time if you know what you're about. So let's move on to Vlookup Approximate Match. Now, in this situation or in this scenario, we are looking at a scenario where, for example, there are students who are writing a particular exam. And because the students are many, we want to use Excel to do the grading system of the students using Vlookup. Okay, so what we are doing, so after marking, these are all the scores of all of the students. So let me clear this. Let me clear this so that we do this again. Okay, so let me clear this. So now our job using Vlookup is to look for the score of this candidate within this table. And then per this grading table, let me explain the grading table. So the grade table says that any student who scores between 0 to 60 is getting an F, 60 to 70 is getting an E in that order. So you need 95 and above to get an A. So this is where the concept of approximate match comes in. You realize that this is giving us a range. So therefore, we will not find exactly. So for example, if you see this record, 85 is not in this list. However, 85 to 90 falls within a range. So that is where the concept of approximate match comes in, still using Vlookup. So what we're saying is, wherever the student score falls within a range, the available grade that the student is supposed to get will automatically be allotted to the grade depending on the score of the student. So let's take a look at how we do that. So we say equals Vlookup, bracket open. What is the lookup value? We are looking up the score. The lookup value is the score of this candidate. So we say comma, the table array. Obviously, the table array becomes this grade table. This tiny grade table becomes our table array. Again, we are going to drag down. So I press the F4 function to lock down the table array so that when I drag down, it does not drag along with the entire formula. The column index number. Now, according to this table, as you can see, I have numbered column 1, column 2. So there are just 2 columns here. The values that we are looking for are in the first column, and the values we are looking to return, which is the grade, is in the second column. So the column index number is 2. However, in my last argument, instead of selecting exact match, which is false, I'll select true, which stands for approximate match. This is what will tell Excel to know that the thing I am looking for, it cannot be found exactly within the table. However, it can be found within a range. So therefore, it can be found within an approximate match. So I select this option. And then I bracket close enter. And in one click, Excel will automatically use this grading table to allot grades. If there are a million students, a million candidates, Excel will automatically allot all the grades to this candidate in one click. Imagine you need to do this manually one by one for all the students. That is not cool. Not cool. So it's important that you know some of these tools at your fingertips to get you going on a daily basis. Are we on course? Again, I see people asking for the YouTube links. Please, please connect on the social handles on my profile, the LinkedIn, Facebook. You can see all the YouTube links in there so that we get the communication going even after this. I mean, there are over 400 functions in Excel, and we just have an hour to do this. So obviously, we can't obviously go in depth into all of these functions. So we are just going to give you the key ones that you are going to be needing on a daily basis so that we can treat the other ones at a more appropriate time. So what I want to do next is to show you a practical use of how, for example, I personally use this Vlookup function. Okay, so I use this Vlookup function I find myself creating invoices on a on a daily basis. So what I have done is create an invoice that uses Vlookup in order to prevent me from always typing in invoices one by one. We're assuming that this is our price list. So whatever the organization, let's assume you sell some products. And for example, this is a sample price list. And then I have my invoice here, my invoice template is here. So what I have done is such that I have automated this invoice to automatically select a product. Anytime I select a product, the Vlookup automatically, if you see what is happening, you see all the values changing. Anytime I select a product, the prices and then the codes and then the grand price, everything changes automatically. So if I select training, for example, you can see the values automatically change because there's a formula in here which is fetching the price and the quantities based on the price list that I have here. So I'm just trying to give you an idea of how powerful this Vlookup tool is. And if I should go through one of this example of how I did this, such that anytime I select a particular item, it will automatically fetch me the code, the unit price, and then multiply by the quantity and automatically give me the price, all in the process of making my work easy so that all I have to do on a daily basis, instead of typing all of these items one by one, once I select, it automatically fetches the prices one by one and gives you the prices automatically. So for example, let me give you an example of what I did. So in this cell, I say equals Vlookup. Okay, in my invoice sheet, my lookup value is the item, is the product description. Okay, then I say comma. Now, the table array doesn't always need to be in the sheet you are working in. You can go and pick your table array from another sheet. So I'm going to go to my price list sheet and then select my table array. This is my table array. So this is the price that contains the items I'm going to be looking for. Again, I use the F4 function to lock down the range. Then I say comma. Then what do I want to return? That per this table, what I want to return is in column 2. So I type in 2, and then I'm looking for exact match. Bracket close, enter. And automatically, you can see that anytime I select a particular product, again, what I am doing here also is another topic in Excel called data validation, which is what I have done to enable me pick the price items that are on this list. All the price items, all the products on this list to appear automatically in this dropdown. All of this is possible using Excel to make your life much, much more easier. At this point, I would like to take a pause and we can go to the question session for any questions that you may have. Thank you very much. Nunya Afari is the name. I'll pause at this point for questions. Vlookup is getting confusing, eh? But did we get the exact match? Did we get the exact match with Vlookup? Gerald or Linda? Okay. Are there any questions at this point? Is there any section that anyone would like me to touch on? Vlookup exact. This Anderson, are you saying we should go over Vlookup exact? Okay, all right, Linda, thank you very much. Okay, somebody's saying we should go over Vlookup again. Okay, so let's let's go over Vlookup exact match again. So in this Vlookup exact scenario, again, this is just a hypothetical scenario. We are saying anytime you have two data sets that you need to compare, other than you having to use control find, I've seen this also happen several times. You use control find this, and then go and find the other one, and then color it one by one. This can be very tedious. I've been through that stage before when I didn't know about Vlookup. Okay, so the approach I'm teaching you here is to write a function that can compare these two data sets and tell you where or which of the records is accounting for the difference in these two data sets. I'm saying it is very easy for me to show you how to do something, but it's important you understand why we are doing what we are doing. So that is the reason why we need to use this function to, in a click of a button. I mean, this can take people days to do, but if you know about Vlookup, you can do this task in a number of minutes. So I'm writing in this formula equals Vlookup. Okay, and then after typing Vlookup, I open my bracket. And anytime you open the bracket, the first requirement that comes up, please pay attention every time you are writing, not just this Vlookup, any other function that you are writing in Excel. Okay? The item highlighted or in bold is usually the requirement that Excel is looking for at that particular time. And in this case, is the lookup value. Excel, this is in bold. So Excel is looking for the lookup value. The lookup value is the unique value that can be found in the two data sets that you are looking to compare, because all we are looking to do is compare two data sets and identify which of the records is accounting for the differences. So the lookup value, I'll select the customer ID because this is the unique value within these two data sets. Then just like in the leading guide here, you can see a small comma here. So you do the same thing. You also type in a comma. And immediately you type a comma, you see the next section, table array. Cool? Now, table array refers to, so we are looking for this. We need to be looking for this somewhere. Okay, that's what it means. You are looking for this where in what table array? Now, the table array is the other data set that we are looking for the data within. Okay, so you come and select the entire data set. That becomes your table array. Now, to proceed further, to prevent this table array, because this is a relative reference that we have selected, we need to lock the range down. And the way we do that is by pressing the F4 function. And if you watch closely here, see what happens when I select the F4 on your keyboard. F4. You notice that it introduces dollar signs on the cell reference. And what this means is that we have locked the range down so that when we drag these values down, it will continually be referring to this range of cells. That is the meaning of what we have done by locking the range. And then just like in the formula guide, I say comma again. The next requirement is column index number, okay? Now, column index number refers to the column we are looking to return. In this case, if we want to return the customer name, according to this table, the customer name is in column 2. The company is in column 3. The country is in column 4. The values is in column 5. So what value do you want to return after I find this record in this table? That's the meaning of what Excel is asking you. If I find this record in this table, what should I return as a confirmation to show you that I have found the record and this is it? That is the explanation. So I want to return the values. If I want to return the values, then the column index number our input is 5. As simple as that. Then I type in another comma. And then because these are exact values that I'm looking for, I'm going to use exact match. I'll select exact match or 0, depending on your keyboard, or false, which all mean the same thing. Then I close the bracket and hit the enter button. And as you can see, Excel has found this record and has returned the value that we are looking for. So I just need to double click on this to copy the formula down. And Excel will scan through the entire, so look at this. If I double click on this stage, you realize that even though this cell is moving along, because we didn't lock this cell down, this range is constantly referring to this table simply because we locked that range down. And that is the meaning. And there is your answer. All the instances where you have not available is telling you that, okay, I have looked through the entire data. These are the records I found, and then these are the records I did not find in the table. And this would have taken you hours, if not days, to do manually if you did not know about Vlookup. Thank you very much. Nunya Afari is the name, aka Mr. Cool. I'll pause for any further questions. Okay. Somebody wanted me to zoom in the text. Okay. Okay, so that's how the formula looks like. Yeah, somebody was asking about proper tool again. Thank you very much, Gabriel. This is This is what we do. Please do well to connect. Connect. My handles are all on my profile. Please do well to connect. And I'll be glad to give you more insight or more clarification on my LinkedIn profile if you need to. Please connect on my Facebook. You see all the channels there. Connect on this page on my Facebook. You see the YouTube channel links on my Facebook and on my LinkedIn. Any more questions? Amma, do you want us to go over the proper function? Okay, so on the proper function, what we said was anytime you have a text, so this was the proper function. If you have a text which is all in uppercase and you want to convert them into a proper case means that I want to capitalize on the first letters only. Okay, that casing is known as proper casing. And unlike in Microsoft Word, there's no button up here where you can just click to toggle the case of any casing in Excel. Everything is done using function. And most people do not know about this. So anytime they need to do this, they have to manually retype the entire text. So the function is to say equals proper, whether the entire whether the text is in uppercase or lowercase. You say equals proper. Okay, and then you select the text you want to convert. If you want to convert this into proper case, I just select on the text and then it converts, as you can see, it converts that text into proper casing. And if I double click this, if there's a long text, it will do the same to all the text without me manually having to do all of this one by one. Let me leave you with one last tip. One last tip. It's a date tip. I've seen people do reports. I mean, you do daily, weekly reports, and every time I see people trying to always remember to put the report date on the report. That is highly not necessary. There's a function in Excel called today. So anytime you do a report, you can insert this function. Just type equals today, bracket open and close. Just type this equals today. And what this does is, based on your computer's dates, you need to ensure that your computer date is correct first, because what it will be doing will be picking your computer date. And once you hit the enter button, this becomes a dynamic formula that stays on your Excel sheet. And anytime you do your daily, weekly reports, you don't need to be remembering to change this date, because automatically Excel would update this anytime you open the worksheet a day after, a week after, a year after. The date will automatically be updating on its own. Cool? That was just a bonus. Thank you guys very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.